Mark here for another great Wisdom and Knowledge 5. And I bring on an iconic, singer and, had a major hit worldwide. Nothing's going to change my love for you. And then he completely, shifted his life, is now working in education. And it's really incredible what he's done. Glenn Medeiros, welcome to the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and did you ever like with your music, did you ever think that you'd still be this popular? I mean, I just went into a store today, a record store, and look at what they had. A single for this, and this was not even a major hit in the US.
Yeah, I think
You
they're trying
know?
to get rid of their merchandise. I think I don't know.
No, not at all. You're not gonna, and this is Wilmington, North Carolina. I don't know if you ever been here before, but I mean, we're not
Yeah,
small, but
no, I love North Carolina. I went there to study. There was an educational conference there at the University of North Carolina in Raleigh, is it?
yeah,
But it
it's
was
about
one,
an
yeah,
hour and 45 minutes away from here.
yeah, it was wonderful. And I remember a restaurant when we went to visit Duke University. There was a Mama Dips. I don't know if they still have them anymore,
I'm sure it's
but it
still
was
there, yeah, over in Durham.
yeah. Yeah, it was great. Really, I guess I don't know if it's referred to as soul food, but whatever it was, I just ate so much of it, so it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
me, I'm in Wilmington. We're 8 minutes away from, the Pacific Ocean. I mean the Atlantic Ocean, 8 minutes
yes,
away from the harbor front downtown. I mean, they call it Wilmywood, but they haven't done much filming, lately over here. I mean, they're starting to come back. Not that I'm big into that, but let me talk about
yeah.
your, education and how
Hmm.
you went from music to education, and why did you get out of music to begin with?
Well, I love being in the music industry in terms of making music. Um, um, I the being on the road was not easy for me. I kind of came from a small town in Hawaii on a small little island of Kauai, and I was very close to my family and friends. And being on tour wasn't easy for me. So I was about 24, and I said, I could keep trying to do this, or I could try and take another route and go to college. And so at the age of 24, I made the decision to move full time to Hawaii. I was born and raised in Hawaii, but I was kind of traveling a lot from about the age of 16 through 24 as a professional singer. So I moved to Oahu from the island of Kauai to Oahu, started going to college, and I just basically started a career in education, which is what I thought I would originally do. I thought I would originally graduate from high school, maybe go into the military, get the opportunity to get an education at no cost and serve my country. But instead, I was signed to Polygon Records at the age of 16. After going to college, my original plan was to start teaching and then maybe sing at a luau show at night. We have these luau shows here in Hawaii that are wonderful. We get about 300 to 500 people a night. We sing together, eat together, have a lot of fun, dance, and so that's what I thought I would do. But I found myself traveling to about 40 countries as a singer after being signed to MCA Records, and Polygon Records, and it was a wonderful experience. But I did at a certain point say, hey, it's time for me to hang it up and start moving towards my original plan, which was to be an educator.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, as far as that song, Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You, why did you choose that in the contest? Because that was originally a George Benson song that wasn't that
Yeah.
popular.
Well, sometimes I listen to people and sometimes I don't. In this particular case, I'm glad I listened to people. George Benson is one of my favorite singers ever, and I had all of his records. And I think, in my opinion, no one sings and plays the guitar as a combination better than him. I mean, I
Hmm.
think he's the
Oh, he's
greatest singer,
incredible.
guitar player. And he's actually lives in Hawaii on Maui, where he makes his home
Okay.
most of the time. But I had his record and fell in love with the song, and I said, I'm going to use it for the contest. When I won the contest, the people at the radio station offered to have it recorded, have me record a song as part of my prize. And I had wanted to do an original song, but they said, "Oh no, Glenn, you should record this song." It was the same writer as "The Greatest Love of All," which was recorded by George Benson also, but
Hmm.
re-recorded by Whitney Houston. And they thought I might be able to do the same thing. I think George Benson didn't always get the support from radio that he should have because they saw him
Not at
as a
all.
jazz artist, right? And which is
Hmm.
really unfortunate because he's such an incredible artist. But anyway, I kind of took advantage of the fact that the song didn't get out there, and my version of it is much, I mean, nowhere close to his version. But anyway, got
Hmm.
it out there, and it ended up doing well. So yeah, I'm really happy that I did listen to others' advice and put it out there because it is one of my favorite songs. I
Hmm.
grew up loving it, and it's a wonderful message, and I'm very lucky to have that song kind of be associated with me now as a signature song for me.
Yeah, and it makes sense, just like with the greatest love of all, because I remember that in the Muhammad Ali movie, George
Yes.
Benson singing, and it was incredible. I'm like, wait, George Benson sang it
Yeah.
too, you know? And I'm
Oh
like,
yes.
he is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to work with a lot of really great musicians in the studios in the 80s, you know, the all the musicians from Toto, and I mean you name it. I worked with a lot
Hmm.
of great studio cats, and didn't make me special. It just meant that my company was willing to pay for it, right? So, you know,
Sure.
they were getting paid triple scale, and but I was in there, and a lot of them would say, "Hey, Glenn, glad you recorded that song for George because he is one of the finest musicians I've ever met." And these are
Hmm.
coming from the best musicians around. So yeah, he's well respected, no doubt.
Yeah, incredible. And then you shift over to education, and this is just incredible, you know, because you knew your purpose in life.
Yeah,
You're one of those people who went out and did it. So explain your
yeah.
journey into education.
Well, I had a traveling around the world helped me a lot. It helped me to open my mind. It helped me to see things differently. When I was in high school, I was an okay student, but I wasn't great.
Hmm.
Um, I grew up on welfare. I didn't have a lot of money. I wasn't exposed to a lot. Um, but having traveled the world opened up my mind. So when I went to college, I mean, I could connect everything I was learning to something I had seen in the world or heard about. And so college was a wonderful experience. And then becoming an educator, I had a lot of people that believed in me and gave me an opportunity. When I first started looking for jobs as an educator, they would say, "Oh, you the singer? You really want to teach?" And but luckily, there were a couple of people that said, "No, no, this guy could be a great teacher." And luckily for me, I got through my first few years of being a not so good teacher and kind of learned the skills that I needed to. And when I got to a point where my teaching was pretty good, people started asking me, "Hey, Glenn, you know, I think you'd be a really good administrator." And when I got the idea of thinking that I might be able to help more people beyond the students in the classroom, but other teachers, and impact more students than I would have being one teacher alone, I made the decision to become an administrator, and so that's what I do now. I work as a president of a school.
Yeah. And did you grow up going to Catholic school also? Because I went to Catholic school until 10th grade.
Yeah. Well, we had Catholic schools on Kauai, little small ones, and I think my parents would have pulled it together if I had asked them to go, but I did not want to have them suffer to have to pay for me to go. And so most of my cousins and my friends went there, and I ended up attending public school, which ended up being a real blessing because my faith life is very strong. I'd go to church every Sunday. We go in on Saturdays, go and you know help with the church, whether it was mowing the lawn, painting the church, whatever it might be. But it was actually a teacher in the public school that I went to that actually inspired me to want to become a teacher. He was a great music teacher, and he saw potential in me and made sure that he helped me reach my full potential. And that was pretty much the one experience, in addition to some other great teachers I had, that made me want to become an educator.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a similar way. I was lucky to go to Catholic school until 10th grade, and then I was just like, Dad, it's not worth the money. You know, my
Right,
parents were
right.
divorced, and I went
Yeah,
to one of the largest high schools in Michigan, and I was blessed because they actually had, you know, programs. They had opportunities to like DECA Business and Marketing Club, which I'm sure you've heard of, that you know
yeah,
the Catholic school didn't have, and
yeah.
still great teachers, great leadership. You know.
Yeah, you know, I think I always tell people school is what you make of it. You know, when I graduated from Kauai High School, our valedictorian went to MIT. He's had an incredible life. and he made the most of his experiences in high school and then leveraged that into college. And I think you're 100% right. For me, the Catholic school experience, what makes the Catholic schools a little bit different is that it kind of tries to nurture the spiritual aspect of things. And for some people, I tell people all the time, you can have faith in God, but you can also have faith in yourself and faith in others. So the whole faith experience, I think, is taking the time to pray. And most of the students that go to our school are not Catholic. They're not even Christian. They're people who are just want to attain a private school education. So hopefully we're giving them, even if it's not the Catholic faith they're looking at, or they're not looking at being Christians, just teaching them to have faith in each other and faith in themselves, and teaching them the power of prayer and meditation, and focusing on what your gifts are. I think it's a wonderful thing.
And one thing I've noticed about you is you also like on your social medias, right? You post like the accomplishments that former students have done, whether it be going to university, playing
Mm.
professional sports, you name it. You're very proud of that.
I am so proud of every student, and thank you for recognizing that. I never wanted to be a person who uh, you know um, puts puts on my social media too much about myself.
Mhm.
I think I, I I have no problem with other people doing that. For me in particular, I like to focus. I like to shine a light on the people that are accomplishing, especially at my school. I take so much pride in it, and I've been very appreciative of the hard work that our teachers, our students, and everyone has done. We're making a difference in people's lives, and sometimes we're planting seeds and we don't see the fruit of our labor until later. But for the most part, we're making a difference, and that's all I wanted to do. I mean, that's the reason I entered the field of education. When I entered music, my reasons for being in music was I wanted to make a living doing what I enjoy, and helping bring happiness to others. Um, but when I went into education, it was mostly about trying to make a difference in people's lives.
That's incredible. Yeah, especially in a society like today where it's so like, especially in the US, so divided, whether it be politically or you name it. But there is a lot of people just standing for all of humanity, especially in 2024. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, right now. Things are exciting. I just finished writing a manuscript to a book that I just turned into a publishing company earlier this week.
Wow.
And it's funny, some of the questions that you're asking, I've kind of addressed in the book, because we're so divided, especially in the United States right now, so divided. And I think a lot of that has to do with technology. We have so many choices. I remember growing up on Kauai, and we had about 4 or 5 stations on television. That was it,
Mhm.
and and no one, the major stations weren't really trying to be different, or look at a different audience. They all were kind of targeting the middle, and but today it's really great that we have so many choices, which I love. But
Mhm.
what ends up happening is that when you have a million radio stations or a million television stations, they're all trying to compete for a segment of audience, and so they're going to try and curtail their particular content towards that. And what it ends up doing is it kind of unintentionally it creates extremes of thought. And so people, I only like jazz, and I only like pop ballads, and I only like rock. Whereas, I don't know. I grew up listening to everything on television and radio. We listened to
Yeah.
country. I'd turn on the television, there'd be country singers. There's
Mhm.
rock and roll. So I think it's kind of created some division, even in politics. People, and that's one of the things I think in education that's really important for us to do. As educators, we cannot tell students what to learn or teach them what to learn. I think it's important we just teach them how to learn and how to make good decisions, how to decipher what the truth is, because they're going to be fed a lot of information that it's really coming from a certain angle and might not be covering all perspectives. And so I agree with you. There's division out there, but there is also opportunity to do good. And I see a lot of people out there really trying to make a difference out there in society. And so it's exciting, but we have to be careful, because we have to make sure that I think we don't spend enough time as humans focusing on how we're alike, and how we have common basic needs, and a need to be loved, the need to belong. Um, that even though we may be different culturally, we have a lot more in common than we think.
Yeah, do you think it's different though? And maybe it's different in Hawaii too, because where I am, it's like you don't even hear politics. But when I lived in Phoenix or when I lived in LA, especially Phoenix though, and it was very
Yeah,
one-sided, it was all political. And
yeah,
it was
yeah.
just like dividing the whole, humanity. Whereas here it's very peaceful, very quiet.
Yeah, it's interesting. I noticed that when I traveled, there's some areas you have maybe, I don't know if there's a little more diversity in some areas, and then when that diversity comes about, there's a little bit more debate. I don't know the exact reasons why, but I agree with you. There's some places that you don't hear as much about politics than others. Uh, so here in Hawaii, it's it's there politically, we, if you look at how we vote, we tend to kind of lean left. Um, and most of the politicians are Democrats, and but I think in general most people are really independent,
Yeah,
and we'll just
I
try
feel
and
you.
choose. Yeah, I think the silent majority is still alive, and most people just choose who they think the best candidate is. But here in Hawaii, it would be nice to see, in my opinion, a little bit more balance. But even if you look at our representatives here in Hawaii, people that would traditionally would be seen today as at least call themselves Democrats, they tend to be a little bit more conservative. So it's interesting. The titles, they get titled a certain thing or they get called a certain thing, but everybody kind of sits on a
Mhm.
different part of the political spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. What about like when it comes to like social media? Well, what did you think of like the TikTok ban? Because there's a lot of humanity going on in TikTok of people uniting.
Yeah. I love it. I just love it. I That's the beauty though. I think the first step in creating peace is exposure.
Hmm.
Yeah, that exposing. I think one of the nicest things about traveling the world for me, around the world for me, was that I started to see the world through not just an American lens, but also through other lenses,
Yeah.
and it taught me to appreciate um, that I didn't see. I saw America in a certain light, and when I started traveling, I saw it in a different light, and it made me appreciate certain things, and made me appreciate things that I didn't see in America that I saw elsewhere too. So and it made me feel like, hey, you know what? There's a lot more in common than I thought we had with people from all over the world, and we should unite. We should come together. We should work together, and create a more peaceful society. So, I know it sounds like unicorns and rainbows, but it's good to see people working together and doing that.
Yeah. So you're glad that TikTok is still around, obviously, right?
I tell you, at first, my daughter started getting into TikTok, and she told me
Yeah, I've
about it. She
seen
said,
some of her
and
videos.
yeah, and I said, Lyric, who's gonna watch this? I mean, all you do is you talk about your day and what you're doing, and I said nobody's gonna watch this. And next thing you know, she's got a 500,000 followers, and so I told her, I said, for me, when I talk to her, it's great. She loves to sing. But what I noticed from it is that a lot of people watch your TikTok because they enjoy seeing our family together. They enjoy seeing
Hmm.
us cook dinner together, eat dinner together. And for some people that may or may not have that, they look at that and say, "Wow, that's possible. It's out there," and they enjoy that. And the other thing I mentioned to her is that I really think that she should also have on her videos her love for animals. She really loves animals, and our
Very
entire
nice.
family does. And I think I told her, I said it's really important that you not only share what we do as a family, but also share her passions. And she loves family, so she's working on her law degree now, and I think she's going to be studying family law. So
Yeah.
so that's going to be give her another way to help people who are trying to move on in their lives, and but yet try to keep their family together.
Yeah. Now, what do you do? What are some of your favorite hobbies? I know you are a sports fan still, right? And
Yeah,
I've seen you
yeah.
play pickleball. You're pretty good at pickleball, right?
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm mostly a tennis player. I play a lot of
Okay.
tennis, but I started picking up pickleball recently because my wife, daughter, and my son love it. So the four of us will play together often. Um, I'm a huge football fan. I love playing football, but now I watch it and I enjoy it, and I love sports in general. I in anything where human can excel at something, whether it's sports or the
Mhm.
arts. I just love people reaching their full potential and people who are incredible. When I watch football, for me, it's not just a sport. It really looks like an art to me. I
Mhm.
really appreciate the flow of the game, the running, the catching, the passing, and so I don't know. I appreciate the sport. I appreciate art. And and I think, in my opinion, one of the things I write in my book is that if I can look back, if I can give anybody a piece of advice, if I were to, if I had a day to live and I talk to my kids and they ask me, what is your secret sauce? What is the answer to living a happy life? And I would tell them, just appreciating yourself, appreciating everyone around you. And I think that's one of the keys to happiness that I find. I mean, like everyone else, I struggle just like everyone else to find purpose in life, and to make a difference and to find happiness. But I think I've been blessed in that my parents did a really good job, I think, of teaching me and my siblings the importance of appreciating what we have.
Now that you're in education, did you have any like incredible teachers or any moments in education? Like in the Catholic grade school, I remember we first started getting Spanish, and when we got this Spanish class, this was like fifth or sixth grade. We watched Stand and Deliver, the Jaime Escalante movie. Just an
Yes.
incredible inspirational movie,
Yeah, I enjoyed using movies when I taught history at the high school level. I started as an elementary teacher. I taught music, and then I taught the different subjects at the elementary level. And then when I knew that I wanted to become a administrator, I started trying to teach different grade levels so that I could at least be able to relate to the teachers that I try to lead. And when I taught at the high school level, I I would often utilize movies as a way to be able to kind of engage the students and keep them connected. Of course, they never liked the fact that I kept stopping the movie every 5 minutes to to have conversations, but it was a good communication tool, and a good learning tool. I throughout my life, I've had people that were inspirational for me in elementary. I've had middle school teachers, high school, college professors, administrators when I became a teacher, other teachers. I've really been blessed in having people around me that encouraged me to do the best I could and to reach for the highest heights. Um and I hope that I can be that to others. I think I have been that to others. And some of those people have expressed to me their appreciation years later, for doing something that sometimes I forgot that I did, like a conversation that I had with someone. um, I used to try and make it a point as a teacher. If I saw someone doing something really well, I would ask them if I could speak to them after class. And I would just say, hey, I really like the way you did that. I see a lot of potential in you in this particular area. And it's amazing what one conversation can do in someone's life. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean. I kind of wish that we had someone like you as in leadership. You know how they got those t-shirts, Rick Astley for president? You should sell t-shirts for, yourself. Seriously, it would be a great way to unite humanity.
I got to tell you, there are a lot of people who are so well qualified uh, to be leaders but I think they can make more money elsewhere.
Mhm.
They can maybe make more of a difference elsewhere, and they will not be as chastised as they are, by unfortunately by the media that is trying to do their job, trying to get a good story. And so I find a lot of the best leaders are starting their own nonprofit organizations, and that's okay. That's okay. But I do wish that at the highest levels we'd have more of a choice.
Hmm.
but
I know what you
but
mean.
Yeah, but it is what it is, and I do, whether I agree or disagree with the individuals that are on top, I have to respect them for putting themselves out there because it takes a lot to be in that position and to be able to handle the attacks they're going to have on themselves and their families.
Yeah. Now, when it
Yeah.
comes back to sports, one of my favorite sports, I'm so busy that I don't watch as much as I used to, is soccer. So I watch a lot.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
an AC Milan fan, so I'm a big Italian fan. And the thing
Yeah.
that draws me off on the American sports, I'm not completely, but
Yeah.
is I love the college, but I'm from Michigan, so I'm a big, a Harbaugh fan and Michigan
Oh,
fan.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but is even in the mail, I'll get them in the mail, or when I watch a movie on Prime, it'll say DraftKings, got to bet on sports, got to do this.
Oh
We
yeah.
never had that growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I I that's one thing that you know, I don't know. It's interesting. I've always been a big football fan, and as you know, for the most part in the United States, soccer hasn't really taken on a lot of popularity like it is in the rest of the world. But
Not
I
at all.
just
It's
start it,
growing.
yeah, but it's growing now, and it's good to see because I only started watching soccer when I started watching the U.S. team, and
Ah,
then
okay.
when the U.S. gets eliminated, who else do I cheer for? I thought, okay, my ethnicity is a Portuguese, so I'll just start rooting for the Portuguese team, and they do pretty well every year. So I start watching the teams, and I start realizing this sport is actually really good. I
Hmm.
When I start watching the World Cup, and so my son and I bought that FIFA World Cup game, and we got
Yeah,
addicted to playing that, and so I like watching soccer now, and when I used to travel a lot and I would use the term soccer, people would think it's the funniest thing in the world because they say, "Oh
sure.
no, no, that's football. What you play is American football," But
Especially for someone like you who's so big in Europe.
yeah, it was I was your typical American coming in thinking that everybody calls it football, but they would laugh at it, and they would understand. But I'm glad you're watching it because I'm seeing a lot more people watch it now in the United States, and I hope it continues to grow. It's a wonderful sport.
I think it really is because I know the Copa America semifinals are here in Charlotte, and I'm going
Yeah,
in Baltimore to see AC Milan. They're playing Barcelona in July
really,
for a
in the
friendly.
United
Yeah,
States. Wow,
and Milan
that's
has a
great.
guy from their top player is from Portugal, Rafael
Really,
Leao.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I know Ronaldo actually came from the same island that my family came from before they came to
Wow.
Hawaii. So
Okay.
he came from the Madeira Islands and the same island that my family came from. Of course, my family left in 1878 to work
Hmm.
on a ship here to Hawaii, and my family has been in Hawaii ever since. But I've always wanted to go to Madeira. The other part of my family were on the Azores Islands off of Portugal. We're from there, and I did get invited by the president one day to actually sing for him there. So I've been to the Azores, but I've never been to Madeira. I hear it's beautiful, and I hear they have a beautiful museum just for Ronaldo there.
No, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
when you were touring in it, because I'm a big fan of European well, sports apparel clothing lines. Did you remember any of those like La Coupe Sportive, Joma? I don't know if you remember any of those.
I remember seeing it on television.
Okay.
I didn't follow it until later, but
Yeah.
um, but I do remember the funniest thing because I didn't really um play a lot of basketball growing up, but I remember Converse coming up to me and saying we want to
Oh,
sponsor you. So
okay.
I used to get like boxes of Converse shoes, and I used to
Okay.
enjoy wearing them. But for the most part, I didn't really get involved in all too many sponsorships. But it would have been a good idea if I had. I think one of the things with me is I started singing professionally when I was 16. So
Hmm.
for the first 3 or 4 years, I was juggling high school and trying to get my degree and traveling around the world. And in retrospect, that probably, I mean, I'm saying this as an educator, that probably wasn't the best move. I probably should have taken a test, graduated, or put it on hold and come back because when you do have the opportunity to 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 be able to make a career out of singing, and you have to kind of uh strike when the iron's hot, right? You got to go out there and give 100%. But I was doing a little juggling, so there were a lot of things that I didn't really take advantage of in my first 3 or 4 years. Once I graduated from high school, I worked as hard as I could to focus on my singing career, but uh but but I never had the kind of success I had at the beginning of my career.
But I think you made the right choice in your life. Wouldn't you say so?
I think going to college was a wonderful choice. I started going to college when I was 24, and some people felt that I was a bit too early. I could have, gone to LA and try to kind of give it a good 3 4 years before going to college. But I think making that decision was a good one for me because it did give me the opportunity to come home, meet my wife, raise a family, go start my teaching, go back to college. So it worked out pretty well. No regrets.
Yeah. Now, is it were you obviously you're still a diehard music fan because
Mhm.
your kids are named Lyric and Chord.
Yeah, a lot of people think I came up with it. That's my wife's idea, believe it or not.
Oh,
But
okay.
I had boring names like looking at Dylan and other things. But anyway, my wife. I'm glad that my wife came up with those names. So because my two kids get a lot of a lot of people will come up to them and say, "Hey, I like your name. It's original. It's unique." So they're good with it.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And what do you see in the future? You're going to remain as president of the high school, right?
Yeah, I've been a president here. This is going to be my 10th year. I'm starting my 10th year as president, so it's gone by pretty quickly. I'm hoping to continue as the leader of the school, but I don't know for how long. I'm going to kind of take it year by year.
Hmm.
Um, Most presidents are in place at a school between 3 to 5 years, so I've kind of done my time. But at the same time, we still have a lot of work to do at the school, and I'd like to be a part of the progress that we're making. But there could be a time when I move on. I'm not sure, but I will tell you that the book that I just kind of turned in, I think that'll be something for my future that I'm hoping that I can get out there. And one of the nice things about doing what I do is I can spend the time that I spend doing my job actually going around and talking about the book and promoting it because it does kind of coincide with what I do. It's because it is a book about education also. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, you're definitely someone who, is out there fulfilling their purpose in life. So whatever happens, you'll know that you're doing the right thing.
Hey, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you saying that. I'm I'm just like everybody else. I'm trying my best to provide for my family, to be the best father and husband and brother I can be, friends to people around me, and I make my share of mistakes, but I've been able to persevere this long, and hopefully, there are many more years to come to so that I can try to make a difference in people's lives. But we'll see. I'm hoping the book can. I really hope. Most books get only read by your family and friends when they release, and I don't expect anything more than that to happen. But when that book does come out, I think there are some some life lessons in there that some people may be able to use, and if it can make a difference in other people's lives, then it'd be worth all of the hard work that I put into writing it.
Well, I think also with everything going on in the world, people are looking for inspiration. And I think people will buy, and hear what you have to say because you are still you have a voice still.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. There are a lot of people that say, "How did you go from a singer to to a teacher to an administrator?" And they kind of know they want to know what was behind my thinking and what how I made it happen, how I made the transition, and um, and so I try to think about what the common thread was, and so I think I was able to find that with this book, and hopefully it'll be something that people can utilize as a tool in their lives. But I will see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Was it hard to move to from because you went what from teacher to vice principal to principal and then president
Hmm.
of a school?
Yeah.
Was it hard to do that or?
Yeah, every step along the way was different. I mean, it was like a new job because every every position that I had required a different skill. I mean, being an entertainer is a skill in itself. I mean, even the different types of entertainment I did. I mean, I first started, I started seeing on television, and then I moved to, bull rings and stadiums, and then I ended up moving to showrooms in Waikiki, and then as a teacher, I taught music class, and I taught special education. I taught English. I taught math. I taught elementary, middle, and high school. So every time I did something new, it was a new experience. And then I became a AP US history teacher, a world history teacher in high school, and then becoming a vice principal was interesting because I was a leader, but I vice principal is someone that really supports the principal and the president. So it's a very supportive leadership role. And then principal was a real new thing because you're almost at the top, but so you got a lot of responsibilities. And then as president, you're really running the entire private school. I fundraise. I have to raise millions of dollars every year. I have to I have to work with boards and board members who are very successful in their own right, and be able to communicate what's happening with them. So everything along the way was another skill I needed to learn, but um, but somehow, I got through it, and it hasn't been easy per se, but I've appreciated everything along the way, everything I've learned, and I felt that along the way, the most important part is that I did enough to, provide for my family, but also make a difference. So that those are the two things that were important to me: provide for my family, make a difference in other people's lives.
And you've definitely done that. Well, I really appreciate you, coming on the podcast. You have such an incredible life, and I loved, hearing about it. And the world needs more people like you out there, Glenn.
Oh no, well, you know what? I appreciate you for, just doing a wonderful interview, asking great questions, and it's people like you actually that really are making the difference because you're choosing to shine a light on what people are doing that's helping others. You don't have to do that. You could take a different route, but you've chosen to do that, and you should be really proud of yourself for doing that. Not everybody does.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Glenn. I really appreciate it.